if I can just move things along here a little bit, but so you said that there's a culture for men by men about how they should treat women. I don't want to linger on this because it gets into like the essay stuff, but
Sure.
You did write it down, so I'll touch on it briefly, but we'll only give it 5-10 minutes. And so you said so this is what you said. So I think a lot of men might find themselves in situations where they're alone with a woman who maybe is drunk, maybe not, whatever, and they aren't aware of the ways that she's been conditioned to be more passive, but also this biological prerogative for self-defense where there's a natural inherent dynamic between men and women. You said it's women, I think, from a physiological perspective, you can't deny that a man is stronger, and you're going to sense that if you're alone in a room with a man, you're going to be more agreeable, and then also probably more likely conditioned societally to be more agreeable, to find yourself to not press your boundaries as much as you should, because you assume that men are going to react violently if you do. You assume that from a biological perspective, but also you assume that because you're conditioned to believe that, and then men are probably not even thinking about that. I'm just a little confused. Are you saying that women who end up alone in a room with a man are, in all instances, are SA'd? I'm confused.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, you're saying like, just by virtue of being in that situation, that what? You wrote it. These are your words, not mine.
What I'm trying to convey is that when you're alone in a room with somebody, and there's a like inherent power dynamic.
What would the power dynamic be?
That he's a man and you're a woman.
So just simply by virtue of being a man, okay, that's the power dynamic.
Don't you think that there's like
no? Go ahead. Just finish your point. Go ahead. No, finish your argument. Go ahead.
I was saying that if you are a woman alone in a room with a man, there's an inherent power dynamic, and that I think there would be some sort of evolutionary adaptation where you would maybe be more submissive.
So you're saying if a woman finds herself alone, assuming she's attracted to the man and has agreed to be in the room alone with him, right? How did they get there?
It doesn't have to be in that situation. I mean,
so they're just, what's the scenario that you're envisioning then?
Okay, fine, we'll go with yours.
Well, I'm just like I don't know, I'm just a little confused here. So you're saying that like if a woman has consents to sex, it's not actually consent? Is that what you're arguing? I'm just confused.
I guess in a way that is kind of what I was getting at. But I think that there can be situations where there's coercion and there's boundary pushing and there's soft no's that aren't really taken seriously, and like maybe you're being playful but you're also saying no, you're not trying to upset the person that you're with.
Okay. I don't know.
Isn't coercion using force and threats? Definitionally?
I guess in this instance, it's like implied threat due to the power dynamic.
So implication of threat. But isn't that just based on feeling?
Sorry, say that?
Isn't that just based on feeling, not necessarily the fact of the matter?
Yeah, but don't you think that there could be an evolutionary adaptation for that? Where it's better to be agreeable in a situation like that rather than to be combative?
No.
If you are actually in a threatening situation?
No. You have fight or flight, right?
And you don't think that it might be better for a woman to...
She may not.
I mean, there could be some circumstances, but when you're talking about coercion in this sense, that wouldn't make any sense, right? There's no implication even of threat. You're just talking about a feeling that you have. Wouldn't that be more societally informed than anything? Like, for instance, if women were running around telling you that 50% of men are predatory, wouldn't that have an impact on whether or not you had a feeling that a man was being coercive towards you because society's telling you that men are a bunch of predators? 50%, for instance?
Yeah, I think that would definitely influence how you feel in that moment.
Yeah, I think it would. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that might be, if we're using the way that you're kind of viewing coercion, that seems like it's far more coercive, than the alternative of a man just, I don't know what, giving you social cues for sex. I don't know. Is that what we're talking about here? Just kind of social cues?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's what we're talking, then it seems like the social implication here is that women who believe that and spread around that 50% of men are hyperpredatory would be far more of an influence on this socially than any kind of fight or flight response, unless, because I mean, that's influencing the social cue, right?
You don't think that a power dynamic can also influence that, though? Just knowing that someone's stronger than you?
Well, I mean, men
think
are
there's a
around men who are
physiological
stronger than them all the
response?
time.
So women,
They don't seem to kind of move into the idea that, as far as coercion goes, that any type of social interaction is going to be overtly threatening to them, even though they're around people who are stronger than them constantly. So, like, I don't know why women necessarily get this pass. There seems to be when we're talking about social cues here, that the influence of women, often like with this idea that men are predatory, when they're really not. I mean, they're just really not. Statistically, that's not based in fact at all. It's true that there's more men who are predators in the way that you're talking about it than women, but who cares? It's not very many of them, right? It's still not this vast amount. So it seems like that is an influencer more than anything else.
wait, so are you arguing that women...
Hang on. Do you mind if she just answers that real quick, or answers to that?
I don't have anything to say to that.
You think you kind of agree that that's true?
She doesn't have anything to say to it. So do you agree, or...
No.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you disagree with?
Can you ask me your question?
You want me to ask you a
Yes.
question?
Yes, what you were going to say.
You don't want to answer it?